The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of gentle orange and pink, a perfect backdrop to the manicured lawns and pristine sidewalks of Maplewood Estates, a place where harmony was maintained through rigorous adherence to rules, courtesy of the Homeowners Association, or, more specifically, Karen. Karen, with her coiffed hair as unyielding as her rules, presided over the neighborhood like a self-appointed monarch. Her SUV was a gleaming emblem of her authority, parked with precision in her driveway. It was a symbol of her status, her power, and her unspoken promise to keep Maplewood Estates immaculate. The morning had arrived with the crispness of autumn, leaves swirling in the crisp air and settling like a colorful tapestry on the lawn. I had just finished hanging my wreath, a modest piece woven with the reds and golds of the season, when her shadow fell over me. It was an apparition of finely pressed slacks and a cardigan, a clipboard cradled in her arm as if it were an extension of herself. I barely registered the breach of peace before she spoke. Her voice, clipped and precise, carried the verdict with the finality of a gavel. I watched, bemused, as her eyes flicked to my wreath, a frown etching her forehead. "Too large," she decreed, a violation of the HOA guidelines. Her pronouncement was as predictable as the dawn, and yet, as I watched her retreat, satisfaction clinging to her like a perfume, an unexpected warmth spread through me. A challenge had been issued, but there was no malice in my heart, only a quiet resolve. Maplewood Estates, for all its order and rules, was not a place for the faint of heart. I admired its beauty quietly, appreciated the symmetry of its neatly trimmed hedges, the whisper of sprinklers in the early morning. But beneath its polished surface lay the seeds of something more human, more imperfect. It was a canvas for expression, even if the strokes were hidden beneath layers of conformity. In the days that followed, I found solace in the routine, the gentle hiss of leaves beneath my rake, the rhythmic back and forth of the broom on my porch. The wreath remained untouched, a symbol of quiet defiance against the tyranny of triviality. Karen, ever vigilant, circled like a hawk. Her SUV, a behemoth of polished metal, seemed to echo her gaze, ever watchful, ever alert. I imagined her seated inside, the leather seat a throne from which she ruled, the steering wheel her scepter. It was a few days later when inspiration struck, a flash of insight as sudden and brilliant as a bolt of lightning. A wreath, larger and more audacious, one that would eclipse even the grandeur of Karen's beloved SUV. The process was meditative, twisting vines and branches, weaving them together in an intricate dance. It was a labor of love, of patience, and, above all, a testament to creativity, unfettered by rules. As evening fell, the new wreath took shape, an embodiment of nature's bountiful defiance, ready to adorn my door. This act was not rebellion but art, a statement, not of hostility, but of individuality. In the quiet of my living room, as shadows lengthened with the setting sun, I allowed myself a small smile. The wreath, in all its grandeur, awaited its debut on my door, a silent proclamation of peace wrapped in audacity. The stage was set and the players were in position. Karen, her SUV, and I, with my oversized wreath, each waiting for the dawn to reveal the drama of Maplewood Estates. The morning after my oversized wreath made its grand debut, I awoke to a scene reminiscent of a neighborhood news broadcast. Karen, the self-appointed mayor of our cul-de-sac, was patrolling the street with the fervor of a hawk on the hunt. Her SUV, with its perfectly polished tires and pristine exterior, sat parked at an angle that suggested authority. A clipboard clutched in her hand like a weapon, she took notes with dramatic flair. The day felt heavy with anticipation, like the pause before a storm. My mailbox, usually a mundane feature, seemed to vibrate with the weight of an impending citation. The HOA, with its labyrinth of rules and regulations, was Karen's playground. She wielded them with precision, turning guidelines into gospel, and I, a mere resident, was her chosen adversary. I watched from behind my curtains, the fabric a soft barrier to the chaos outside. There was something almost theatrical about her inspection, an orchestrated performance, just for me. Each glance she cast toward my house was a silent accusation, a promise of retribution yet to come. By afternoon, a new ordinance was posted on the community board, a testament to Karen's efficiency. It was a tapestry of absurdity, each rule crafted with the sole purpose of extinguishing any spark of individuality. Wreaths must not exceed a diameter of 24 inches. Lawn ornaments are limited to 3 per household. Holiday decorations must not be visible from the street until the sanctioned date. The list went on, each bullet point a stab at my rebellion. A faint smile crept across my lips. It was almost impressive how swiftly Karen had maneuvered the HOA machinery. But beneath her meticulously crafted edicts lay an undeniable truth. The more she pushed, the stronger my resolve grew. Gossip began to weave through the air, a whispering current that swept through the neighborhood. Karen's voice carried like a siren, painting me as the instigator, the troublemaker. Her tales, spun with the skill of an artisan, were designed to isolate. But isolation is a curious thing. It can break you, or it can embolden you. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced across my lawn, I felt a quiet determination settle within me. Karen's rules were absurd, a testament to her insecurity rather than my defiance. But the more she sought to control, the more I recognized the power in simply being. The night was a blanket of stars, each one a reminder of the vastness beyond our petty disputes. I stood on my porch, the air crisp with the promise of winter. Karen's SUV glistened under the streetlights, a monument to her reign. In that moment, surrounded by the stillness of the night, I realized that this battle was not about wreaths or rules. It was about claiming a space where I could exist without constraint, a space where individuality was not just tolerated, but celebrated. Tomorrow, I would plan my next move. Perhaps something subtle yet profound, a gesture that would speak louder than any wreath ever could. But tonight, I would revel in the knowledge that I was not alone in my struggle. Each star above was a witness, a testament to the quiet power of resistance. Karen could escalate. She could rewrite the rules and spread her gossip. But she could not dim the light that burned within me. The HOA could dictate the size of my wreath, but it could never dictate the size of my spirit. Sunday dawned brisk and clear, the kind of autumn morning that seems to play out in shades of gold and slate. The sun, still low in the sky, stretched shadows long and lean across the neighborhood. It was the kind of day that whispered promises of warm cider and sweaters, where every breath felt like crisp renewal. A perfect day for the drama that had been quietly bubbling beneath the surface of our cul-de-sac to finally breach. The wreath, my newfound symbol of defiance, hung majestically on my front door, its circumference wide enough to make a sedan blush. Adorned with a cacophony of autumn leaves, pumpkins, and a particularly audacious array of twinkling lights, it was a statement piece in every sense. A wreath so grand it dared to demand attention and indeed received it. Overnight, whispers had spread through the neighborhood, a low hum of curiosity and speculation. I could feel the change in gaze, from perfunctory nods to pointed glances as neighbors passed by on their morning walks. Dogs tugged at leashes as their owners paused to take in the sight, eyes widening as if witnessing a minor rebellion. And there she was, Karen, stepping out of her house with the brisk efficiency of someone who believed in schedules and order. Her SUV glistened in the driveway like a polished badge of authority. She paused for a moment, her gaze narrowing at the oversized wreath, calculating perhaps the length of her next email or the severity of her next letter. The wreath had become the fulcrum of our silent duel, its significance far beyond mere decoration. For Karen, it was an affront, a challenge to the rigid structures she held dear. For me, it was a quiet but firm assertion, a gentle reminder to all that perhaps not everything should be measured or contained. The tension in the air was palpable, like the charged moments before a summer storm. I could feel it crackle against my skin, an electric anticipation of what was to come. Each rustle of leaves seemed to echo with the unspoken words of the community, a silent jury deliberating on our suburban spat. As the day unfolded, Neighbors gathered in small clusters, their conversations a mix of gossip, speculation, and amusement. It was a spectacle, a soap opera played out in the quiet corners of our seemingly idyllic neighborhood. I watched from my porch, a cup of steaming coffee in hand, the warmth bleeding through to my fingertips. Karen approached, each step deliberate and measured, her face a mask of determined composure. She stopped a few paces from my yard, her eyes fixed on the gloriously ostentatious wreath. For a moment, silence reigned, the kind that might precede a declaration or a white flag. Then finally, from across the lawn, her voice carried, clipped and precise, cutting through the morning air. "It seems you've made your point," she said, a reluctant acknowledgement of the spectacle. I simply nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of my mouth. Victory, in its quiet way, is sweet. The wreath swayed gently in the breeze, a banner of irrepressible spirit. As Karen turned back to her house, I felt a sense of calm settle over me, the kind that comes with knowing that sometimes the best battles are fought not with words, but with deeds. With the afternoon sun slipping into the horizon, the neighborhood began to return to its routines, the drama of the morning fading into memory. The wreath remained, a reminder of the day's events, a symbol of quiet resistance against the confines of conformity. In its shadow, the neighborhood found a new rhythm, one that allowed for a touch of whimsy, a hint of rebellion. And in that, perhaps, a small victory for us all. The morning sun broke through the tangled branches of the old oak tree, casting intricate shadows over my freshly cut lawn. The wreath, now a monument to defiance, caught the first rays of light, its oversized glamour both absurd and grandiose. It was easily double the size of Karen's SUV, a fact that gave me no small amount of satisfaction. I sipped my coffee, savoring the quiet triumph. The street was still, the usual hum of suburbia not yet awake. I could almost feel the tension simmering beneath the calm, like the static charge before a thunderstorm. Karen had been conspicuously absent since my oversized wreath made its debut. Perhaps she was regrouping, plotting her next move. Or maybe she was simply stewing in her own self-made brew of indignation. Either way, the silence was both a relief and a prelude. The neighborhood had taken sides in our little war, lines drawn in mulch and driveway cracks. A few neighbors had whispered their support, their eyes alight with the thrill of rebellion. Others, like Mr. Thompson from 2 doors down, had remained staunchly neutral, preferring to watch the drama unfold from a safe distance. I couldn't blame them. It was a spectacle, after all. The HOA meeting was set for that evening, a special session called to address the wreath situation. I imagined Karen rehearsing her speech in front of her bathroom mirror, each word sharpened to a cutting edge. She'd be ready for battle, her clipboard a shield, her pen a lance. By the time I arrived at the community center, the air was thick with anticipation. The room was packed, a sea of folding chairs and expectant faces. I took my seat, the wreath issue hanging like a tapestry behind my eyes. Karen was already there, her presence commanding, her posture rigid. She spotted me across the room, her gaze piercing through the crowd. I met her stare with a calm, steady resolve, channeling every ounce of quiet power I possessed. The meeting began with the usual formalities, but the tension was palpable, a taut wire strung between us. When the discussion finally turned to the wreath, the room seemed to hold its breath. Karen rose to speak, her voice a carefully measured blend of authority and feigned concern. She outlined her grievances with the precision of a surgeon, dissecting the issue with meticulous care. But beneath her polished veneer, there was a hint of desperation, a crack in the armor. Her words hung in the air, heavy and oppressive. Then, a rustle from the back of the room. Mrs. Henley, a sweet woman with gentle eyes and an unexpectedly sharp tongue, stood up. "Perhaps," she suggested, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife, "we should focus less on wreaths and more on community." The room erupted into murmurs and nods. Karen's composure wavered just a fraction, her grip on the clipboard tightening. In that moment, the tide shifted. The room, once Karen's kingdom, became a place of collective realization. My wreath, the ostensible villain, had become a symbol of something more, a reminder that our community was more than rules and regulations. It was about people. The meeting ended without a resolution, but it didn't matter. The power had shifted, moving away from Karen's controlling grasp. The community had spoken, not with votes, but with understanding. As I left the meeting, the evening air cool against my skin, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The wreath hung proudly on my door, a testament to the unexpected power of quiet defiance. Karen, sidelined but not defeated, would find other battles. But for now, the street was calm, the shadows long and forgiving, and in their quiet, I found solace.